Hey, live! We are here with another broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am excited about this one. I titled this, They Laughed When I Tried to Sell, because I'm going to talk about sales today and what I've experienced with sales and selling in my life, both personally and professionally. And this is a bit sensitive at times for me because it brings up some I guess I should say just personally challenging stories here, at least one that I'll share with you here tonight. And yes, thank you for watching. If you're listening on my broadcast, on the podcast, Media and Marketing, thank you. Please share and like as you see fit. Always good to spread the good word out there, and I appreciate you helping me as well. If you want any more information about what I do and what we do at the agency, you can go to chaosmap.com. I put it up on the screen here, so you can take a look-see. Basically, what we do briefly is we are client acquisition experts. So we help you bring in customers to your business so that you can grow and prosper. However, today it's about selling, sales, business development, whatever you call this thing, which is all about connecting and communicating and sharing and caring. I'm talking about different words here for the same thing, which is about convincing or, helping somebody understand your point of view. And of course, if you're in sales and really in business, what I'm talking about is the ability to actually create a transaction where there's money involved. And we call these people salespeople. I don't necessarily call myself that, although I've heard my friends say, Jon, you should be in sales, my friend. I just never liked sales. The question that came up in my mind early on is, I can never be like that person, like him or her. I'm not a born salesman. In fact, I don't think that's a term, well, I think it's a term, but I don't believe that that's the case. You're never born a salesman. But then I was, thinking over the years and back and forth on this topic. Well, maybe you are. Maybe we all are. In fact, now I'm convinced that we all are born salespeople. You may have not thought about it this way before, but, when you were born, first thing you did was try to sell yourself. You sold yourself to your mom and dad, right? You sold yourself to the hospital staff. I remember when I picked up my daughter, first thing that happened was crying, right? That's a good thing. And over the years as a dad, it's been annoying because it's turned into whining. That's a whole different story. But the bottom line is you're selling yourself from birth. And so that whole selling bit that I just talked about, yes, we all are. But we don't think about it that way. In fact, the more we think about it, the more stressed out we get about that. And, I'm going to get to my story in a second, but the incident that happened many, many years ago led me to believe that I was never, ever going to be anybody significant in the area of sales. In fact, the more I rejected it, the better it was for me. Somebody else can deal with that crap, right? And if you're feeling like that, then this is what I'm sharing with you today to help you understand how it has changed for me over the years, and how just looking at it a little bit differently really helps not only me, but the receiving party of that communication. So the title here, as I said, is They Laughed When They Tried Selling. And when I tried selling is actually sort of a mini ripoff of a headline from Tested Advertising Methods from John Caples, if you want to learn about how to create headlines. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is sales and selling. And the incident that happened several decades ago back in Norway when I was playing in a musical band was all about trying to get through to the hotel manager that we, in fact, was the band. We were young at that time. I think we're perhaps one of the youngest bands in Norway at that time. And so not easy to walk into a grand hotel in my local, area and ask for the hotel manager and trying to convince him that, in fact, we were the band. We are it. This is your entertainment. And interestingly enough, I was not wanting or willing to go in there and talk with them, scared shitless, right? In fact, I was probably young enough or just dumb enough to go in and actually do it. None of the other guys, no, you go. And so I'm like, okay, let's give this a shot. So I went in there, had to sort of hunt down, which was a really awful process, hunt down the hotel manager. Where the heck is he, right? And so I'm asking people, and essentially I'm communicating, I'm sharing, who I am, and I'm trying to get through to the people that, in fact, we are the band, but I need to speak to the hotel manager. And he finally appears, and he looks me up and down for a moment, and he says, "Who are you?" "Yeah, we're the band. We're playing here tonight." And he just proceeds to laugh. This is the laughing part, or part of it. There's more in a second here. But yeah, he proceeds to laugh and essentially says, "Hey, are you even young enough to be up at night?" We were young, as I said. And, I was embarrassed and almost started crying. I remember I ran back into the band truck or the band van and told the guys, and the second wave of laughter came. They laughed at me. We were supposed to be friends. So, talk about being hard hit here. That was me all the way, man. This is just not going to be my path of succession or profession in terms of actually scaling up any sales business anytime soon. So, lo and behold, we managed to get in there and we had a great night. In fact, it was one of the more successful nights I recall, and he was very happy. And over the years to come, we played there many, many times over, and now we laugh about it again, but it's a different laugh, right? But anyway, the essence of this story and this message for you is that there's never a good time to be selling, really, right? It's like you're basically thinking, if I share what I have to give or to provide to this other party, they're just going to look at this as a negative experience because, hey, I'm looking for money or I'm looking for this transaction, as I mentioned earlier. And ultimately, nobody wants to be sold, as the expression goes, but we all love to buy, right? You've heard that before. So how do we bind this connection, or how do we create this connection that makes this really just a seamless experience and that we all can enjoy as far as learning, but also actually doing it? And when I say enjoy, air quotes on that, right? Because I don't think I ever have enjoyed it, although I have to say I was on a call today with a great company over in Europe, and they came out to me, they reached out to me based on some of this information that I'm sharing with you here today, and we had a great call. In fact, it was this that seeded today's presentation, thinking about my experience in sales. And again, I'm going from several decades ago in Norway and jumping to current day, and there's a whole bunch in between there, and I will share more of those in another episode here. But I just wanted to make sure that I share this message with you if you're having problems with selling. I'm not necessarily saying sales, although that is the end game, in terms of the entire process, but actually getting that transaction to happen. So if you're selling vitamins like I was when I first came here to the U.S., or if you're selling, big business-to-business deals, or you're selling, health and fitness programs in a local gym, then it's all about trying to create an emotional trigger in that other party so that they can move forward. And of course, the sales cycles can be short, they can be long. In the B2B industry, business to business, that is, I've sold big deals that take, 3 to 6 months to close, and they're 6-figure plus, deals. And that's exciting, but it's also very strenuous, and you have to really be on your game, for those. But really anything selling, that you're trying to create out there in terms of that emotional trigger, as I said, and moving the transaction forward, is based on just one thing. And I'm sort of finding myself mystified by the simplicity of this as this has come to pass over the years, because it wasn't like one necessarily significant moment that said, I got this. So again, sort of hard learning in the trenches, and obviously also reading and watching what other pros are doing out there to try and find what works for me, because everybody's different, right? And so really what has worked for me is to change that word selling or sales with sharing. And sharing can be annoying too if you have some blabbermouth sitting in the corner. It's like, all right, already, we have heard your sharing message. We got it, right? It has to be strategic. It has to be timely. It has to obviously be the right audience. We talk a lot about that here when it comes to Facebook advertising, Google advertising, right message at the right time, the right audience, all of that. So we got that thing going for us, right? And by the way, since we're talking about sales, not marketing here, which is all of that pre-work that happens, the pre-framing, the presets of all the information that sets you up as the authority or the leader in the space. That's what I'm the most excited about. But sales, in fact, is where you, what we call, close the transaction. And so when you do this, you are happy to report back to your organization that you closed another sale. Now you have to deliver. But ultimately, selling is about sharing what you know as an expert that you can provide value for or value within for that marketplace. So back to that example today, when they came in and asked for specifically Facebook advertising, YouTube advertising, Google advertising, I could happily share some great case studies, etc., which is always helpful. Testimonials, of course. All of this is sort of par for the course. But really what I was doing is I was just sharing my expertise. I was sharing basically solution-oriented outcomes that I was familiar with from having been in the industry for a while. And I didn't feel like I was selling at all. In fact, anytime in the past or current where I feel like I'm selling, I'm trying to push something, it really never works. If it is a sale or if it closes to a transaction, it's typically something that doesn't work out necessarily after the fact, And again, I should preface this to say what I sell and what we sell in the organization here as marketing and advertising solutions is, higher ticket, right? We're not selling a $50 pair of shoes or, something that perhaps can just be transacted online. It's typically face-to-face, or in a Skype call or a Zoom call, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a more personal, hands-on, touchy-feely, if you will, interaction. And when you share in this manner and when you call out the problems that is happening on the other side and really try and locate those problems, those challenges, and then provide immediate solutions and ideas for what that could look like in their world, and also really do sort of a framing of what their world could look like with that solution presented, you have come a long way. And so today was that moment as I was closing that, the moment where I thought, you know what, I need to create a live video here today on the broadcast and on the podcast to share some of these learnings. And again, haven't really followed a step-by-step here on this other than to share sort of just from the hip, if you will, a story from my past. And it really just sucks to sell when you feel like you're selling. You need to come in as the authority. You need to develop that leadership. You need to come in as you need to come in to that conversation as somebody who's really trying to help. And you've heard this before. I know it because the internet is vast, big, and paramount in your life, I'm sure. But the thing is, I need to stress it because we forget. We might get on a call and suddenly find ourselves selling, and it doesn't work. In fact, I have this little picture here of a guy blowing up a balloon, and this is what perhaps you feel like, your voice pitches up and your dry mouth, cotton mouth, all of this, right? This is a picture of a guy blowing up a balloon with, like laughing gas or whatever. And that's what you feel like. And that's what it sounds like perhaps to the other side. And that's the moment you realize, wait a second, I need to change strategy here. I am selling. I am just pitching and I am in the person's face. I need to consider the other option. The other option is, of course, what I'm talking about here is to share and, sharing and caring. It sounds sort of cheesy, but in fact, this comes through on the conversations, comes through on the calls, and not be afraid to walk away, meaning, I sort of don't like necessarily this idea out the gate to present and share and care and then act as if you don't want the sale. But truly, the unselling aspect of anything that I've done has probably also been one of the biggest factors for success, because I'm not trying to close. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to drive them forward. In fact, if you go to chaosmap.com/talk, you can get an interaction like what I'm describing here, either with myself or one of my experts. In fact, that particular URL I set up for you to talk to me. And I'll show you how this works. In fact, if you have a problem, a challenge in your business right now, and you have a viable business, and you are considering moving forward, you should call. But I almost can guarantee you, and this is the cocky part, which, that's just not me, but I'll use the term right now. I will close you on that call if you have the right business and the right match, because there is not a single person or company that would walk away from the solutions that I present or we present and can offer you at that moment, if you have considered all options. And again, sounds a bit cocky, a bit sort of, edgy, but this has worked so well over the years, and it's been 10 plus years now at the agency. And here's the truth. If there's not a good fit, I will tell you. If there is an opportunity to network and pass you on to somebody else in our network, I will do that. The summary of this, though, as I'm coming to a close on this, a little bit sort of semi-elaborate diatribe on selling and sales, is that if you know your stuff, if you consider yourself to be an expert, and if you have something to give and provide and offer that as solutions to your marketplace, you'll win, and not think about, I got to sell, I got to nail this deal. Try to help, try to provide a value to your community, add assistance every step of the way, and don't think about selling. And nobody's going to be laughing at you for doing this, that's for sure. And by the way, if you're not selling the things that I'm selling, perhaps you are in a smaller business, you do interactions. I just spoke to somebody today about health and fitness and selling programs at organizations here in Los Angeles. Same thing applies, You need to provide and show value, and at the same time show authority and that you care. Now, that's a lot to be thrown into one mix, but in fact, those things are very, very valuable for the receiving party, and they will in turn respect you for not trying to pitch them every turn of the clock, right? In fact, I was just reminded of another fitness place where I brought my boys to play basketball. It felt like every 6 seconds I was being pitched something about their program, and you could tell that they were more concerned about commissions and closing that transaction than actually listening to us. In that case, what I often will do is I will actually say it outright. My job here today is to make sure that you are a good fit, that you're happy, that this is something that you're looking for, and also I may be trying to sell you. I'll say it outright, although I don't typically do that on calls today. The thing that I might do actually on calls, still do today, is make a presentation and then summarize it by saying, and that was my actual sales pitch. How did that sound? And sort of tongue-in-cheek. And although I'm not really looking for a reply to that, because, essentially I could say that sounded okay, or, yeah, that was too pitchy. But I never get that, because they sense my sincerity in trying to help and add value to the conversation right there and then. So anyway, this has been a presentation about selling and sales and my experiences with it. And I'm still learning. I'm just still that kid who walked into that hotel that day to try and make sense of what the heck is going on here. Interestingly enough, I became the lead singer in that band, and I actually took on a lot more responsibilities in bands ahead, and we made it to the top 10, and it's just been a fantastic journey for me. And really, ultimately, we're all selling. We're all salespeople. Don't forget that. I don't care if you're in a church walking around with a basket, or you're sitting at the beach just enjoying yourself and the ice cream man comes walking by. If you're trying to get into a school or university, name it. There's not a single situation where you'll say, yeah, hey, luckily I didn't have to sell myself. We're selling each other all the time. Just the labeling is a little different. That's why I urge you to think of the term sharing not selling. So anyway, hope this was a little bit useful for you here today. I love doing these. It's been a couple of days off here, but we're going to have some great new interviews again on the broadcast. That is the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play. You can go to chaosmap.com, find out more information about the agency, JonRognerud.com as well. That's my personal. But ultimately, go out there and try and share and care. Add value to the conversation, and don't think about, I got to close this sale or I'm toast. Later.
Yeah.